And next we have the final technical presentation of the day. That will be given by Umut KETEN from Türk Telekom.
Wow. Well, this is the first time for me and also automatically for Türk Telekom to be at the ITSF. And yeah, well, it's very hard to do the last, especially the last presentation, because there were so many strong presentations before me. And well, to top that and keep everybody's focus on the last presentation will be really hard, but I'm going to do my best. Well, the first thing what everybody will notice is that the title has a little bit changed. Well, the thing is, like, the main title still stands. We have a solution for a GNSS independent solution. But we also wanted to name it that it is an alternative way to distribute time and sync. But we think we have found the holy grail. So we actually did. We call ourselves in Turkey this, but we ourselves don't believe it because it's actually too good to be true, but the results are really, really good. So let me try to go over our agenda. I only spent 2 minutes on the first slide, so sorry about that. So, my agenda is very short and powerful, hopefully, and I'm going to keep it, I'm going to try to keep it short and powerful, let me put it that way. So we're going to have 3 points. I'm going to a little bit talk about the Türk Telekom Group, what we do and what we stand for, and after that we're going to talk about the problems. And it's like I said before, having the last presentation is a danger, but it's also very, very good because the earlier presentations showed me that we were not the only telco having the problems, and I will try to explain what these problems are and why telcos are having these problems. So, and as final points, I will tell about the solution, what we did, and hopefully I will get a lot of questions and we'll try to answer them. So, this is me. I look handsome around pictures, but yeah, I don't know why. It just is. 40 years old, and I have 18 years of telco experience. And well, I've done a lot, seen a lot of telcos as well, and that has brought me here. The company that I currently work for is Türk Telekom. It is an umbrella company of also 5 sub-companies, but Türk Telekom does nearly everything, and mainly it's fixed and mobile networks. We have 47 million subscribers, nearly 300,000 kilometers of fiber deployed, and 45,000 fiber deployed internationally, and it is 178 years old. So, the main problems, what I want to discuss about is actually, one is being relying on GNSS. Although nearly half of the presentations were actually discussing this. So, and the second problem is actually distributing PTP over a WAN, over a wide area network. And to make a long story short, well, in my opinion, and not every telco is actually fully aware of this, but the awareness will get bigger over time, is that synchronization is a must. And with the evolution to 5G, this is becoming more and more apparent. And telcos are trying to actually upgrade their networks to fulfill this demands, what is required for 5G. And it has become, it has become hard for us as a telco. We have tried to upgrade the network sufficiently, and we have seen that we have, not really matched. So, the first problem, what we faced was GNSS. So, Well, the problem is not with the satellites, because everybody will agree that there is not often an outage with the satellites, and this was also discussed earlier. But the main problem is actually with each individual site. Well, let's talk about our network, and we have around 10,000 base station sites. So reaching them, so having them all GNSS, that they can receive GNSS is very hard, because there comes a lot of operations with it. It's about the antennas degrading, failing, measuring, replacing everything. So this is very, very hard. And other than that, there are also things that you cannot do. It was also discussed earlier and also told earlier, it's jamming activities. And in a region that we are as Turkey, there are military activities which are also continuously jamming. And I'm not talking about 8 hours or a day or a week. We get 9 weeks, which is common. So 9 weeks no GNSS can be a big problem. The second problem what we actually face is deploying PTP in a WAN. Now, the thing is, like, if you want to deploy it properly, you follow the ITT standards, which is 8275.1 and 8275.2, you choose. When you're actually doing this is very hard for a telco, especially if you have leased lines, if you have legacy parts, and if you want to do this properly, it seems that you need to upgrade the whole network. You need to actually place a whole new network, and this is a big issue for a telco, because everything needs to have a return of investment, and you can't just invest that amount of money to have PTP deployed and sometimes even see it not working because of there were a lot of things. But let me try to explain it at the next slide, why it doesn't sometimes work on a WAN. So here we can see a layer of a common telco, and if you want to go from point A to B on an MPLS network, this is most likely the path that it will follow. So the PTP will go from point A boundary clock to the next, and it will reach this point. But like the way PTP works, it can have a return path that is not in symmetry. This is a problem, but this you can overcome on IP. We do traffic engineering. So this is done, so we fix that with traffic engineering, but still this isn't sufficient, because IP networks in some cases have a lot of packet delay variance, and it's all dependent on bursting traffic, customers, changes, and everything. But there is a bigger issue. It's not only the IP layer. This is how that route actually looks like in a real network, and I didn't put in all the layers. This is only the OTN below it. So if it goes from point A to B, the first hop might be dark fiber, but the next one will traverse through a DWDM or SDH, which also need to be boundary clocked, or needs to be aware of 8275.1, or needs to be able to do it. If not, you have a big problem. Let's say you went the whole road up until the last node and you managed to have everything compliant. Yes, it will work for a time, and there might something happen on the underlying network. There's a fiber cut, there's a maintenance, somebody upgrades a card on the underlying network, and then again, you don't have synchronization anymore. So what does this result do for us? It is not to troubleshoot, because we cannot troubleshoot this, because who is responsible for synchronization in a telco? Let's say the MPLS guys are responsible and they don't have sync anymore, but they don't have, both platforms have they don't have communications with each other. They don't know, or the other one doesn't care, or they don't know how to troubleshoot. That is a big issue for telcos, because we have tried to roll this out on 300 sites, and you get one site working and you get a site that you realize you don't have synchronization anymore, yeah, where's the problem? What happened? Because the MPLS part will not see any issue. The DWDM guys, well, there was a protection. There happened a protection, but where they can't report back to the MPLS people. So implementing this on a WAN is a really, really hard issue. So we came up with a solution for this. And like I said, it's still working for a few months. And yeah, the results, and we tell ourselves, I told a few people, it's too good to be true. But yeah, we started using the following. We started using DTM. And the fun thing is, like, this is actually a forgotten protocol. I need to find it because I forget a few things. DTM is a dynamically synchronous transfer mode. It is actually a TDM-like mechanics, and well, it can do a lot of things. It is well known in the broadcast industry, and well, actually, as Türk Telekom, we started using DTM for our video assistant referee. And when we started using it, and we saw how we could actually transport phased cameras, we realized, hey, we might do something in synchronization with this. And then we started testing it, and well, the results were, yeah, like I said, the results were amazing. So what DTM does is actually two main algorithms, what they have. And regarding time, I don't want to keep everybody, I don't want to go too deep into details as well. DTM has two main mechanisms. One is actually the minimum time sampling algorithm, and one is the minimum block algorithm, which actually yeah, is really, really good to transfer time. And let's get to actually quickly my final slide. And this was actually supposed to be my poster session here. And well, thanks to the ITSF chair, they gave me a talking session, and I wanted to show what we actually did. This test setup in Turkey is still active. So what it actually does is we have a really, really distant point, which is in Adana, and we have a receiving end, which is in Istanbul, which is a 5G site. So what we do, we give a clock in Adana, and we transport it over 14 hops. It's a one-way trip, it's 14 hops, and the other way is 11 hops, because there is asymmetry in the network. And the receiving end that receives actually the time, and when we actually measure it against the time in a location, well, we have an offset of average 130 nanoseconds. So this is brilliant. We don't have any timing support in between. So it's a plain IP network that actually traverses, and the point-to-point connection over this IP network is a DTM front. This is a virtual circuit that actually transports the time. With these results, well, like I said, when we measured this, we didn't believe it. So we asked our good friends of Calmex to also come over and say, like, yeah, please verify these results, because this is too good to be true. And yeah, thanks to them, we also had seen that we actually can transport more than 1,000 kilometers without any actually timing support in between, and we can have the results that we want. This is a solution. This is out of the box. It's not described anywhere, and I think this is a solution that should be considered, because I've seen a lot of telco people before me just describing the same problems. So Alice was describing about with Vodafone how she was actually going step by step for 20 kilometers, and then we had Malek from Orange in Poland, that he wanted something really, that he needs something to invest in that is actually long term, and not to have to think about anything else. And that was the presentation from Joe. I liked actually also very, very much from Microsoft, thinking outside the box, because the current what we have is actually really hard to implement for a telco. And what we here present is actually really, really easy to implement. It doesn't matter what type of network you have underneath. It can be legacy, you can keep that, you can upgrade it if you want or not, but you can place this on top of it and it works. And yeah, this was my presentation, well within time, so thank you.